Hi guys, it's Miss Learson here. I'm about to read to you the short excerpt for the week with continuing on with our unit of literary analysis. The excerpt we're reading from this week is Excerpt from Enrique's Journey by Sonia Nazario. As I'm reading this, and hopefully you've printed this out before you listen to me read it to you, or you read it again on your own, you should be annotating this. Annotations means taking notes. The notes you should be taking should be things about literary elements that you hear Sonia use as she's developing her story. Think about a theme. What is the possible theme that she's developing here? And what are the literary elements that she used to create this theme in your head? And I have attached many things and graphic organizers and other notes for you to use this week and throughout the week. And they were also posted throughout last week. So go back through last week and print those out. Print up everything that I'm attaching to these lessons daily, because you will need these. You can even use these on your CSWA, which you will be taking later this semester in December to finish up this unit on literary analysis, analyzing how or why an author uses things and why and they developed a picture in your head. So let's begin. Enrique's journey recounts the unforgettable quest of a Honduran boy looking for his mother 11 years after she is forced to leave her starving family to find work in the United States. Braving unimaginable peril, often clinging to the sides and the tops of freight trains, Enrique travels through hostile worlds full of thugs, bandits, and corrupt cops. But he pushes forward, relying on his wit, courage, hope, and kindness of strangers. As Isabel Allende writes, this is a 21st century odyssey. Let's begin this excerpt. The boy does not understand. Pay attention to Enrique. How was he at the beginning? How is he in the middle? And how is he at the end of the story? You're developing a complex character. A complex character is a character that experiences a change. So let's listen. His mother is not talking to him. She will not even look at him. Enrique has no hint of what she is going to do. Lourdes knows. She understands, as only a mother can, the terror she is about to inflict, the ache Enrique will feel, and finally the emptiness. What will become of him? Already he will not let anyone else feed him or bathe him. He loves her deeply, as only a son can. With Lourdes, he is openly affectionate. Dame pico, mommy. Give me a kiss, Mom, he pleads over and over, pursing his lips. With Lourdes, he is a chatterbox. Mira, Mommy. Look, Mom, he says softly, asking her questions about everything he sees. Without her, he is so shy. It is crushing. Slowly, she walks out onto the porch. Enrique clings to her pant leg. Beside her, he is tiny. Lourdes loves him so much. She cannot bring herself to say a word. She cannot carry his picture. It would melt her resolve. She cannot hug him. He is 5 years old. They live on the outskirts of Tegucigalpa in Honduras. She can barely afford food for him and his sister, Belky, who is 7. She has never been able to buy them a toy or a birthday cake. Lourdes, 24, scrubs other people's laundry in a muddy river. She goes door to door selling tortillas, used clothes, and plantains. She fills a wooden box with gum and crackers and cigarettes, and she finds a spot where she can squat on a dusty sidewalk next to the downtown Pizza Hut and sells the items to passerby. The sidewalk is Enrique's playground. They have a bleak future. He and Belky are not likely to finish grade school. Lourdes cannot afford uniforms or pencils, and her husband is gone. A job is out of the question. Lourdes knows of only one place that offers hope. As a 7-year-old child delivering tortillas her mother made to wealthy homes, she glimpsed this place on other people's television screens. The flickering images were a far cry from Lord's childhood home, a 2-room shack made of wooden slats. Its flimsy tin roof weighted down with rocks, the only bathroom a clump of bushes outside. On television, she saw New York City's spectacular skyline, Las Vegas's shimmering lights, Disneyland's magical castle. Lourdes has decided she will leave. She will go to the United States and make money and send it home. She will be gone for 1 year, less with luck, or she will bring her children to be with her. It is for them she is leaving, she tells herself, but still she feels guilty. She kneels and kisses Belky and hugs her tightly. Then she turns to her own sister. If she watches over Belky, she will get a set of gold fingernails from El Norte. But Lourdes cannot face Enrique. He will remember the only thing that she says to him. Don't forget to go to church this afternoon. It is January 29th, 1989. His mother steps off the porch. She walks away. ¿Dónde está mi mamá? Enrique cries over and over. Where is my mom? His mother never returns, and that decides Enrique's fate. As a teenager, indeed still a child, he will set out for the United States on his own to search for her. Virtually unnoticed, he will become one of an estimated 48,000 children He will become one of an estimated 48,000 children who enter the United States from Central America and Mexico each year, illegally and without either of their parents. Roughly 2/3 of them will make it past the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service. Many go north seeking work. Others flee abusive families. Most of the Central Americans go to reunite with a parent. Say counselors at a detention center in Texas where the INS houses the largest number of unaccompanied children it catches. Of those, the counselors say 75% are looking for their mothers. Some children say they need to find out whether their mothers still love them. A priest at a Texas shelter says they often bring pictures of themselves in their mother's arms. The journey is hard for the Mexicans, but harder still for Enrique and the others from Central America. They must make an illegal and dangerous trek up the length of Mexico. Counselors and immigration lawyers say only half of them get from the smugglers. The rest travel alone. They are cold, hungry, and helpless. They are hunted like animals by corrupt police, bandits, and gang members deported from the United States. A University of Houston found that most are robbed, beaten, or raped, usually several times. Some are killed. They set out with little or no money. Thousands seek shelter, workers say, make their own way through Mexico, clinging to the sides and the tops of freight trains. Since the 1990s, Mexico and the United States have tried to thwart them. To evade Mexican police and immigration authorities, the children jump onto and off moving train cars. Sometimes they fall and the wheels tear them apart. They navigate by word of mouth or by the arc of the sun. Often they don't know where or when they'll get their next meal. Some go days without eating. If a train stops, even briefly, they crouch by the tracks, cup their hands, and steal sips of water from the shiny puddles tainted with diesel fuel. At night, they huddle together on the train cars or next to the train tracks. They sleep in trees, in tall grass, or in beds made of leaves. Some are very strong. Mexican rail workers have encountered 7-year-olds on their way to find their mothers. A policeman discovered a 9-year-old boy near downtown Los Angeles tracks. I'm looking for my mother, he said. The youngster had left Puerto Cortes in Honduras 3 months before. He had been guided only by his cunning and the single thing he knew about her, where she lived, and he asked everyone, how do I get to San Francisco? Typically, the children are teenagers. Some were babies when their mothers left, and they know them only by the pictures sent home. Others a bit older. struggle to hold on to the memories. One has slept in her mother's bed, another has the smell of her perfume, put on her deodorant or clothes. One is old enough to remember his mother's face, another her laugh, her favorite shade of lipstick, how her dress felt as she stood at the stove patting tortillas. Many, including Enrique, began to idolize their mothers. They remember how their mothers fed and bathed them and how they walked them to kindergarten, and in their absence, these mothers became larger than life. Although in the United States the women struggle to pay rent and eat, in the imaginations of their children back home, they become deliverance itself and the answer to every problem. Finding them becomes the quest for the Holy Grail. So you read a little bit about Enrique and how his mother left, and now you heard a history about the travels that she's going to experience. So now we're going to get back into the short story of Enrique, and it's titled Confusion. Enrique is bewildered. Who will take care of him now that his mother is gone? Lourdes, unable to burden her family with both of her children, has split them up. Belkey stayed with Lourdes' mother and sisters for 2 years. Enrique is entrusted to his father, Louis, from whom his mother has been separated for 3 years. Enrique clings to his daddy, who dotes on him, a bricklayer. His father takes Enrique to work and lets him help him mix the mortar. They live with Enrique's grandmother. His father shares a bed with him and brings him apples and clothes. Every month, Enrique misses his mother less, but he does not forget her. When is she coming home from me? He asks. And Lourdes and her smuggler cross Mexico on buses. Each afternoon she closes her eyes and she imagines herself home at dusk, playing with Enrique under the eucalyptus tree in her mother's front yard. Enrique straddles a broom, pretending it's a donkey trotting around the muddy yard. Each afternoon she presses her eyes shut and tears fall. Each afternoon she reminds herself that if she is weak, if she does not keep moving forward, her children will pay. Lourdes has crosses into the United States in one of the largest immigrant waves in the country's history. She enters at night through a rat-infested Tijuana sewage tunnel and makes her way to Los Angeles. There, in the downtown Greyhound bus terminal, the smuggler tells Lourdes to wait while he runs a quick errand. He'll be right back. The smuggler has been paid to take her all the way to Miami. 3 days pass, and Lourdes musses her filthy hair, trying to blend in with the homeless and not get singled out by the police. She prays to God to put someone before her to show her the way, whom she can reach out to for help. Starved, she starts walking. East of downtown, Lourdes spots a small factory on the loading dock under a gray tin roof. Women sort red and green tomatoes. She begs for work. She puts tomatoes into boxes, and she hallucinates that she is slicing open a juicy one and sprinkling it with salt. The boss pays her $14 for 2 hours' work. Lourdes' brother has a friend in Los Angeles who helps Lourdes get a fake Social Security card and a job. She moves in with a Beverly Hills couple to take care of their 3-year-old daughter. Their spacious home has carpet on the floors and mahogany panels on the walls. Her employers are kind. They pay her $125 a week. She gets nights and weekends off. Maybe Lourdes tells herself if she stays long enough, they will help her become legal. Every morning as the couple leave for work, the little girl cries for her mother, and Lourdes feeds her breakfast and thinks of Enrique and Belkey. She asks herself, do my children cry like this? I'm giving this girl food instead of feeding my own children. To get the girl to eat, Lourdes pretends the spoon is an airplane, but each time the spoon lands in the girl's mouth, Lourdes is filled with sadness. In the afternoon, after the girl comes home from her pre-kindergarten class, they thumb through a picture book and play. The girl, so close to Enrique's age, is a constant reminder of her own son. Many afternoon, Lourdes cannot contain her grief, and she gives the girl a toy and dashes into the kitchen. There, out of sight, tears flow. After 7 months, she cannot take it. She quits and moves to a friend's place in Long Beach. Boxes arrive in Tegucigalpa, bearing clothes, shoes, toys, cars, a RoboCop, a doll, a television, and Lord's rights. Do they like the things that she is sending? And she tells Enrique to behave, to study hard. She has hopes for him, graduation from high school, a white-collar job, maybe as an engineer. She pictures her son working in a crisp shirt and shiny shoes, and she says she loves them. Enrique asks about his mother. She'll be home soon, his grandmother assures him. Don't worry, she'll be back. But his mother does not come. Her disappearance is incomprehensible. Enrique's bewilderment turns to confusion and then to adolescent anger. When Enrique is 7, his father brings a woman home. To her, Enrique is an economic burden. One morning, she spills hot cocoa and burns him, and his father throws her out. But their separation is brief. Mom, Enrique's father tells the grandmother, I can't think of anyone but that woman. Enrique's father bathes, dresses, splashes on cologne, and follows her. Enrique tags along and begs to stay with him. But his father tells him to go back to his grandmother. His father begins a new family, and Enrique sees him rarely, usually by chance. In time, Enrique's love turns to contempt. He doesn't love me. He loves the children he has with his wife. He tells Belky, I don't have a dad. His father notices. He looks at me as if he wasn't my son, as if he wants to strangle me. He tells Enrique's grandmother. Most of the blame, his father decides, belongs to Enrique's mother. She is the one who promised to come back. For Belky, their mother's disappearance is just as distressing. She lives with Aunt Rose Amelia, one of her mother's sisters, and on Mother's Day, Belky struggles through a celebration at school. That night, she cries quietly alone in her room, and then she scolds herself. She should thank her mother for leaving. Without the money she sends for books and uniforms, Belky could not even attend school. She reminds herself of all the other things her mother shipped south: Reebok, tennis shoes, black sandals, the yellow bear, the pink puppy, stuffed toys on her bed, and she commiserates with a friend whose mother has also left, and they console each other. They know a girl whose mother died of a heart attack. At least they say. Ours is alive. But Rosa Amelia thinks the separation has caused deep emotional problems. To her, it seems that Belky is struggling with an unavoidable question. How can I be worth anything if my mother left me? There are days that Belky tells Aunt Rosa Amalia, when I wake up, I feel so alone, and Belky is temperamental. Sometimes she stops talking to everyone, and when her mood turns dark, her grandmother warns the other children in the house, Portents bien porque la Maria anda brava. You better behave because the seas are choppy. Confused by the mother's absence, Enrique turns to the grandmother. Alone now, he and his father's elderly mother share a shack 30 feet square. Maria Marcos built it herself of wooden slats. Enrique can see daylight in the cracks. It has 4 rooms, 3 without electricity. There is no running water. Gutters carry off the patched tin roof into 2 barrels. A trickle of cloud white sewage runs past the front gate on a well-worn rock nearby. Enrique's mother washes musty, used clothing she sells door to door. Next to the rock is the latrine, a concrete hole. Beside it are buckets for bathing. The shack is in the Carousel, one of Tecacapola's poorest neighborhoods. Sometimes Enrique looks across the rolling hills to the neighborhood where he and his mother lived and where Belky still lives with their mother's family. They're 6 miles apart and they hardly ever visit. Lord sends Enrique $50 a month, occasionally $100, sometimes nothing. It is enough for food, but not for the school clothes, fees, notebooks, or pencils, which are expensive in Honduras. There is never enough for a birthday present, but Grandmother Maria hugs him and wishes him a cheery Feliz Cumpleaños. Your mother can't send enough, she says, so we both have to work. Enrique loves to climb his mother's guayaba tree, but there is no more time for play now. After school, Enrique sells tamales and plastic bags of fruit juice from a bucket hung in the crook of his arm. Tamarindo piña, he shouts. Sometimes Enrique takes his wares to a service station where diesel-belching buses rumble in from Carousel. Jostling among mango and avocado vendors, he sells cups of diced fruit. After he turns 10, he rides buses alone to an outdoor food market. He stuffs tiny bags with nutmeg, curry powder, and paprika and then seals them with hot wax. He pauses at big black gates in front of the market and calls out, "Va quiere especias?" Who wants spices? He has no vendor's license, so he keeps moving, darting between wooden carts piled with papayas. Younger children, 5 and 6 years old, dot the curbs, thrusting fistfuls of tomatoes and chilies at shoppers. Others offer to carry purchases of fruits and vegetables from stall to stall in rustic wooden wheelbarrows in exchange for tips. "Te ayudo? May I help you?" They ask, arms taut, backs stooped. The boys heave forward, their carts bulging. In between sales, some of the young market workers sniff glue. Grandmother Maria cooks plantains, spaghetti, and fresh eggs. Now and then she kills a chicken and prepares it for him. In return, when she is sick, Enrique rubs medicine on her back. He brings water to her in bed. 2 or 3 times a week, Enrique lugs buckets filled with drinking water, one on each shoulder, from the water truck at the bottom of the hill up to his grandmother's house. Every year on Mother's Day, he makes a heart-shaped card at school and presses it into her hand. "I love you very much, Grandma," he writes. But she is still not his mother. Enrique longs to hear Lord's voice. Once he tries to call her collect from a public telephone in his neighborhood, and he can't get the call to go through. His only way of talking to her is at the home of his mother's cousin, Maria Elda Maria Sanchez Mejia, one of the few family members who has a telephone. His mother seldom calls. One year, she does not call at all. Lourdes has been away from her family for 11 years when Enrique decides to begin the trek to the United States from Honduras to find his mother. Do I want to have them with me so badly, Lourdes asks herself of her children, that I'm willing to risk losing their lives? Besides, she does not want Enrique to come to California. There are too many gangs, drugs, and crimes. In any event, she has not saved enough. The cheapest coyote, immigrant advocates say, charges $3,000 per child. Female coyotes want up to $6,000. A top smuggler will bring a child by commercial flight for $10,000. She must save enough to bring both children at once. If not, the one left in Honduras will think she loves him or her less. Enrique despairs, and he will simply have to do it himself. He will go find her. He will ride the trains. "I want to come," he tells her. "Don't even joke about it," she says. "It's too dangerous. Be patient." So in this story I just read to you, you read about Enrique. He was 5 years old when his mother, Lourdes, left their home and traveled up into the United States to try to find jobs, to get money to bring her family up to the United States. 11 years have passed, and he decides it's time to travel up to America to find his mother. So I ask you to go back. Identify, how is Enrique at the beginning? How is Enrique in the middle? And how is Enrique at the end? Find textual evidence to prove these changes. It's not enough to just say he changed. You have to prove he changed. So your what is the evidence, the textual evidence. The how did the author use that textual evidence? Is it a simile? Is it irony? Is it word choice? Is it diction? I've attached some literary elements for you to look at. Think about them. How did you think? What made you think that that piece of evidence showed change in Enrique? And then the why column would be explaining why that piece of textual evidence supports Enrique changed. That's your explanation. Those are your words. It is a what, how, why. What is the evidence? How was it used? And why was it used? That's what you're writing on the what, how, why chart. Those three things will go together to make a sentence to prove how Enrique was at the beginning, how Enrique was in the middle, like the time he spent with his father and his grandmother, and how he was at the end when he is going to get on the train to go find his mother. You're going to put those three things together, and you're going to be turning in a literary analysis on Thursday. All the information you need is attached. It's in step-by-step directions, lots of graphic organizers. Do your best, and let's have this turned in by Thursday.